Hi everybody, Q&A day today. So I'm going to run through some of those questions you've been putting in the comments boxes for all the videos that we do. So as I said, keep those comments coming, keep these questions coming, and every so often we're going to do one of these Q&As as we've been doing for a long time now, and run through those questions. So that's what today's video is all about. So let's start off with the first one here. So this is to do with the bike rack on the back. Can you open the tailgate with bikes on it? The simple answer to that is no. So with the weight that's on the back of it, it would be very, very difficult to lift that tailgate up, especially if you've got more than one bike on the back of it. It's not really designed to be opened with bikes on the back of it, and certainly not for it to actually stay open and not come back down again. So the physics of actually opening it with a bike on, for example, depending on the size of the bike, you know, if you wanted to grab something out of it, you might be able to do. I've never tried it myself with the bike on the back. I've always left it closed and shut down. And the question in relation to the toolkit, I think in particular, I think you were asking whether you could get access to that toolkit. So the answer to that would simply be no. So unfortunately, if you need to get access to the toolkit and you had the bike rack on the back, you would need to remove the bikes first, and obviously then get access from there. And then you don't have to remove all the other things that's in that space underneath the vehicle as well to get access to that toolkit, unfortunately. But that's pretty much the case of whenever you need the toolkit, whatever vehicle you've got, the toolkit generally is located in the bottom of the boot, underneath everything else you've got in, so you've got to get it out anyway. But yep, so that's the first question. Good question. Obviously you've got a bike rack which is tow bar, a tow ball one which sits on the back of the tow bar that's there. Generally speaking, you need to remove that as well. They do fold down a little bit, so you can open on some of them, open on the tailgates. So the next question is from Mark, mentioning that his California hasn't got a button on the door pillar, which can, and this is to do with the interior monitoring system of the vehicle. So for Volkswagen, for years gone by, there's been a little switch. It's on the B pillar on the driver's side, so that's the second pillar back from the front, and this has allowed you to switch off the interior monitoring. So if, for example, you've left a pet in the vehicle, with a dog or something like that in the vehicle, for example, you can press that button before you shut the vehicle and lock it, and that will turn off the interior monitoring in the actual vehicle itself. And that's always been a feature on there. Now they've done away with that recently. The function is still with the vehicle, but it has to be done via the head unit. So there's a little tick button on in the settings system of the vehicle. We have done a video on this quite a while ago, and maybe we'll do another video on it to show you where that is in the future one. But we have done when we talked about alarm systems, etc. We have done that one before as well. So I think, Mark, what you were basically was letting everybody know, which is great. That button no longer is actually on that build plate. It hasn't been for some time now, but you can still access that interior monitoring to turn it off via the dash and via the system that's there. Leading on from that, we've had a question from Kura, reference switching off the alarm. How do you switch off the alarm? So we've done videos on this before. So if you're camping and you're sleeping in your vehicle, don't lock your vehicle with the remote control. So don't lock it with this. Lock it on the central locking button on the driver's door card, because what happened then is that will not set the alarm. So if you lock the vehicle with the key, it will set the alarm that's on the vehicle, and obviously then you could trigger that alarm, for example, while you're in the vehicle and asleep. And I think that's probably what you're alluding to. That's on the thing, is how do you lock the vehicle and not put the alarm on? And that is essentially how you do it. So you can do it on there so that it's not actually got the alarm system that's there as well. You can lock the vehicle with the key that's in the side of the vehicle as well. But generally speaking, the alarm is a function of the vehicle. So you're obviously going to want that alarm on whenever the vehicle is locked. But obviously, if you're leaving it, and you don't want that alarm system on because of that. Obviously, you can deactivate that. And going back to the previous question about the interior monitoring system, for example, quite a few people turn that off. For example, if you're in an airport car park. That's open air one, for example, that's in there as well, because sometimes planes, etc., have affected those in the past. But all alarm systems now, they do go off, and obviously they won't continuously go off and go off and go off. There's a set period of time which they can go off for the actual siren, and then it will stop. So I hope that answers that question for you. Next question is reference the navigation system. Someone's asking whether you can actually put a grid reference point into the navigation system, because a lot of European campsites, etc., use a grid reference rather than, say, a postcode, for example. Now, my understanding is you can do this in Europe on the navigation systems. I've never tried it before. If you do look at the navigation system on the first page, on the factory fitted one, it does sometimes give you the coordinates of where something actually is. Here in the UK, we don't tend to use coordinates for somewhere else, because it's all done derivative generally by postcode that's there, but that function is in there to do that, I believe, as well. Obviously, if you're using an external surface like Google or something like that, I'm not quite sure how that refers to in there as well. One thing that might be a good thing actually for the future is what 3 words, if you've used that before, where you can you put in a specific area, I think it's like a 1 metre square, and it will designate 3 words that respond to that particular metre. That would be quite good to be able to put into a navigation system. I think that would be quite handy. Not sure you can do that at the moment. Might have a look at that for the next time. We will have a look at this as well in a video, so I'm going to go and have a look at this navigation thing, maybe see if I can get some codes, for example, some coordinates for somewhere, and try and put them in and see whether that actually does work as well. So we'll come back to you on that. I think this question was from Mimi Van Life. I think that was the thing that was on the question, and it's referring to the gas bottle that's in the vehicle. And it was saying, should you turn the gas bottle off when you're travelling? So I don't think there's any specific rules on gas being turned off or not turned off. I know a lot of ferry companies, for example, and Channel Tunnel and things like that, for example, like your gas bottles to be disconnected. So if you're going on there for a longer trip. I know personally, if I'm on a longer trip in the vehicle, I do turn off the gas bottle at the back. So if I know if I'm going a longer distance, but if I know I'm only going a short distance down the road, I don't tend to, because you're going in and out. I've got to take everything out of that particular storage area to get to it. If anybody knows any different, please let me know. But yes, as far as I'm aware of things like ferries, etc., and places like that, I think the advice is to disconnect the gas supply that's in there if you're on a bottle-fed system that's on there. And as I said, for me personally, if I'm going on a longer journey, I do tend to turn it off at the gas bottle that's in there, obviously. But if I'm going on a longer journey, but other than that, I don't tend to do that anyway. Great question that's coming up next, and something that I am going to try from this. So David is asking about the Multivan. Obviously, the Multivan comes as standard as a 7-seat. You have the option to have it as 6 seats. That's there. David wants to know whether you can turn it into an 8-seater. My initial thing was no, but then I had a little think. I think, well, actually, you can move the middle row forward, and that creates a 3rd row that's in there, and that middle seat can slide backwards and forwards. So in theory, I think the answer probably is you probably could. The slight issue that we come to with this then is you're changing the characteristics of that vehicle, and there are certain things in which you need to let people know from on that basis. So generally speaking, if you change the output, so if you look on, for example, the V5 registration document for a vehicle, it will tell you how many seats that vehicle has. So for example, this vehicle that we're in now would have 4, for example, or it might say 4/5, because you've got the option of the 5th seat to get one in there. Transporter combis do that because you can get them as a 5 or a 6-seater, so they tend to be 5/6 on the V5. A Multivan is obviously going to show 7, for example, that was on there as well. So there are little things like that, and I'm not quite sure what the indications are from on there. I know you do have to be a little bit careful, for example, if you're going from an 8 to a 9-seat vehicle, because that extra seating, for example, there can then change the characteristics of the vehicle as far as what can be driven, what can't be driven. Because if I'm right in saying this, I think I am. If you've got a 9-seat, for example, I think you need a different type of license for that particular one. I might be wrong with that. It might be if you've got 10 seats. I can't remember. Anyway, long story short, I think the answer to your question, David, is yes, I think you probably could get a seat. It would have to be one of the ones in the middle, one of the ones that has the integrated seat belts in that could slide in and out. So it'd have to be an identical match for what's already in the vehicle in the middle section, because that's where it would go. So I think the answer to that is yes. Can you buy an individual seat? No. You can't just go and buy an individual seat. You have to buy all the parts, etc., that go with that seat. So it will be very, very expensive, unless you happen to know somebody that was selling a seat that you could buy that from it as well. It's certainly not something you could walk into a Volkswagen commercial centre and go, I want an 8-seat Multivan. That is not something which we currently do at the moment. Whether that's something Volkswagen maybe have in their mind later down the line, I don't know. And at some point I am going to have a little play around with this and see whether you can actually get 8 seats in a Multivan. So when I've got a bit of spare time, I might put one in the workshop and see whether it's possible. But very good question, David, and one that's got us all thinking and scratching our heads a little bit as well. We'll leave that one for the moment. As I said, if we get any more updates on that, I'll let you know. So going on to, I had another question. I'm not sure who this was from. There's no name on there, but it talks about the California Ocean. It said you're having trouble speccing it with the shower option. So that is still available as an option currently. You might have found that when you were trying to order it, for some reason that had been removed. Because on the ordering system for the vehicles, you do find from time to time that there is issues with certain ones that you can't add on. and I think I mentioned this before as well, is if you're ordering and looking at what's online, so in the configurator, that is not an exact match for what we order the vehicle via, which is a program called SLI, which is how we order the vehicles. So if you come in, we order it on that system, and then that system obviously is directly linked to Volkswagen, and then they obviously, that has the ordering system in there, where the ordering system online, the configurator, is different. So if there's something you think you should be able to order that's not ordered, you can't do on the configurator, speak to your local dealer, give ourselves a ring, etc., and we can obviously advise you on that basis. But the outdoor shower is still an option on the vehicle, and you can still order the California with those in. So I hope that answers that question for you as well. And then final question for today is reference with the sleeping, so this bed like we have in the vehicle that's with us here, and someone's asking was, can you drive with this bed down? And the answer to that is yes, you can, 100%. You can drive with this bed down flat as it was. Obviously nobody can be on it while you're driving, so you can't be driving and having a sleep in the back, because obviously you're not protected, you've got no seat belt that's working that's on the vehicle or anything like that. So that is 100% a definite no. From a safety perspective, it's very dangerous, as I'm sure you can imagine. You can certainly have it flat and be driving around no problems at all. Lots of people do that because they do it for extra storage. So if you're taking lots of things with you, for example, they might lie it flat so you can get something bigger in the vehicle as well. I've seen people do it with, when they're moving things around, you know, like if you've got something large, for example, like a wardrobe or something like that, they want to move in the vehicle. That's the easiest way of doing it. Actually, just pop your seats down flat and you can get larger loads in on the vehicle. So 100% you can definitely fold this down and drive the vehicle. That's the end of today's video. So it's a quick question and answer session. I've gone through the questions which you've put in the comments that's in there. Please keep them coming. As always, we share them with everybody. We do a question and answer session that's there because it's just a lot easier, and then everybody knows, because you might think it's a question that's just for you. 9 times out of 10 it's not. There's probably somebody else out there who's also thinking about it as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, and we'll see you next time.